Doing a podcast here with Jason Allday. My name's David Wilde, filmmaker. Jason's a writer, producer. I'll let you introduce yourself. A little bit about yourself. We connect. I'll talk about how we connected, but a little introduction about yourself, a little summary.
I don't know if I'd go as far as saying I'm a writer and a producer. I just sort of, I'm really ambitious in respect of just taking the next step with my writing.
I would call you a writer. You've got a film gone with a bunch of names in it, and it's your script. Is that right?
Correct.
So I would call you a writer, a screenwriter, and you write novels. So let's go. Let's continue for there.
All right. Well, I appreciate the compliment, but it's largely as a result of my mate Irving Welsh, really good friend. He schooled me immensely. He's invested a lot of time in me. And it was only that I was just writing books. My first book I wrote years back after I lost a member of my family, and I wrote a book, and it was a great level of therapy for me. And then Irv got involved with that and gave me a lot of suggestions and pointers, and I just, we maintained a friendship, and that friendship grew over the years, because I don't think he's in any one country more than 1 week. He's a globetrotter beyond belief. But he does spend a considerable amount of time in the States. So when he's over here, whether it be in Chicago or down in Miami.
Because I looked on your Amazon and stuff, and you've wrote some, books there. How did you really get started, in writing?
It was, again, after losing a member of my family, I wrote a book, which I thought would just, to encapsulate the whole experience, was just give me some closure. And it was after that I can't remember the exact conversation, but it was with Irving and one of my friends who's now passed, one of my older mates. They said, well, just keep doing it. If it's something you enjoy, just keep doing it. I had some great source material. Some of my older friends, a lot from South London and East London, prominently where my family's from. So I used them as source material, and I said, look, write about us and our experiences growing up being villains or scoundrels, rascals, whatever you want to call them. So I started writing in that genre, and it just kept going and going. And Irv said, have you considered writing scripts? And I said, I have absolutely no idea. And he laughed and said, well, you can write a script. You can write a book, you can write a script. So I took it as a huge compliment. And then, so I wrote the script. He looked at it, he said, that's really good. So I thought, right, okay, well, I'll take that again as a feather in my cap. I sent it out to a friend up in New York, a director called Danny Provenzano. And he absolutely loved it. He said, look, we could really do something with this. So from writing a script to filming with a lot of these really well-known actors, prominently from Sopranos, because he's really close friends of a lot, the Italian-American community. And there's a lot of actors up there.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to get into that. How did that? So that's how it came about. There's a movie called. It's a pilot. It's a trailer. You've made a sort of pilot.
We filmed a treatment, which I was told that the best way to do it was, get your script in, because you can send a script into 1 million different production companies and distributors, and they're going to go, we'll look at it later, and then they're going to put it on a pile of 1,000 scripts, and it 99.99% it's not going to get touched. So it was like Danny said, like, let's get a treatment or pilot, a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Filmed.
Yeah.
So that's how we do that, and then again, it moved really quick, and I was amazed how quickly it went from writing a script up to me flying up to New York and filming around New Jersey, and I'm standing next to Vince Pastore and Rob Finaro and all these well-established, pedigree actors that have been in Sopranos and a whole bunch of other things as well. And so again, some of those accommodating people I could have wished to have been around. I'd read and heard horror stories about actors and how they can be an actor, and absolutely brilliant people. They couldn't do enough to help me. They were really impressed with the script. One guy I got on really well with, I really liked, was a guy called John Bianco, an actor. He's done some really good stuff. He was in quite a lot of Sopranos episodes. But he really, really liked the script, and he gave me some good advice, as they all give me great advice. Like Tony Darrow, he was in Goodfellas and again in the Sopranos and a bunch of stuff. But they're all giving me advice saying, you write really, really well. And I thought, well, maybe they're just trying to boost my confidence, I felt like I was a fish out of water.
I don't think they would.
Can't
With
remember.
Freddie Bishop conference, I don't think these guys would, because they've worked in some movies that are. So if they would, I don't think they would say that if they didn't mean it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
You know.
But I mean, I'll admit there are certain scenes where, like, more so the Italian American dialogue, Danny had to step in and sort of like really fine tune it. He said, you know, what had been written, he said that we're going to need to change. I said, you know, go for it. But it was, I'm sure it was John Bianco that's.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
yeah, just to jump in there, that's always fascinated me when you're writing in a world that is their kind of world and we are outsiders. How do you write something? I know gangsterism is the same across the world, where it's London, wherever. So the spirit of it and its kind of universal theme, where, you know, the gangster world, the crime world. But how do you get that kind of authenticity? Is that where they can adjust things, you know, that these guys
For
can
me,
relate to,
it was.
you know?
If I understood your question correctly, it was something that Frankie Fraser said to me years back when he said, you know, the difference between East Londoners and South Londoners. Because my dad's family probably come around from Peckham, Catford, Nunhead, and some of my mum's family were West London and East London. So he said, you know the difference between East Londoners and South Londoners? And I thought it was going to be a joke. And I said, no. He said, East Londoners are known for their violence, but South Londoners are known more so for being money getters. It's business. And when I made that comment to some of the guys up in New York, they said it's very similar with organised, like with the five families up there. It's violence is justified through a means of money. It's business. So and so I always kept that in mind.
That's why they don't like wild card violent people if they don't, because it's disrupting business. We are as British, Scottish, whatever. We are so brought up with American gangster movies as well. I think.
Yeah.
You know, that world. You know.
Well, it was when I was writing up there, because Danny had me right when we was doing the proof. He had the script. He said, "Okay, we're going to have to come off script a little bit. We're going to keep the theme there, the idea, the characters, the premise." And I felt really, really sort of, I guess, I don't use the word under pressured. I was like, oh shit, this is where I'm going to be really tested. Because exactly, I want you to write a scene. Keep in mind what you've written here, but write a scene with these two actors now. And I went, Alan, we've got, he said, I see you in about 5 minutes. I was like, oh, shit. And then I thought, well, it was something that I remember Guy Ritchie saying years ago when he was interviewed, when he said, no, why do you write the way that you write? It seems that you're just grandizing, you just, you know, giving violence an unnecessary platform. And he said, no, I'm just writing what I'd like to see. And I thought, well, I've got Vincent Mastore there, I've got John Bianco there, I've got Angel Salazar there, I've got all these actors, you know, that they do a phenomenal job in the movies they've seen that I've enjoyed watching. What would I like them to see them to do now? And that's essentially what I did. And Danny was fine tuning it because, of course, he's a veteran, he's a pedigree in that field. But then John Bianco would step in, and there's a guy, Frank Serrero was the actor. His brother turned up. Again, I was like, oh shit. Danny said, "Do you want to just use him as a sort of like, you know, as an extra in one of those things?" I said, "No, do I need to ask?" And he said, "No, it's just a done deal." He even sat down and spoke to me again. It was. So I said, well, I was thinking about writing this or writing this. And they said, well, yeah, that's a good idea, but consider this. It's not like they went in and did any of the writing. They would sort of like, I guess, you know, ignite a spark, plant an acorn. And what they found interesting, what I think, certainly from my perception, what they enjoyed doing was acting upon what I'd written from my perspective. And it seemed to work really, really well.
That must have been quite surreal.
There was an actor called Robert Fonaro. He played in Sopranos. And he really come across as a method actor. He was very, very deep in what he was doing. I mean, he would act out a scene and he would talk to me, and he was in his own way sort of explaining what he was doing. And it was just amazing, because I guess I've always considered acting just like that the actors do what they do and that's it. But he sort of like took it to not a darker or a deeper level. He could appeal to any audience. He was again, brilliant guy to be around.
As a filmmaker, you've got to accommodate that. You've got to accommodate in the sense that the way somebody works, where they want to be method, right? You do your thing, whatever it is, but I just need you when the camera rolls. That's it. Whatever way you get to it, you know. Simon phoned me up and says, "There's this gangster film in New York with gangster guys and so and all the Soprano guys are in it," and it was like, whoa, back the fuck up, man. What are you talking about? So you need to shoot in a few days, David. Would you shoot a few scenes in Glasgow? But it's New York. Now it's like, it doesn't matter. Just would you shoot? And it was like, Aye, okay, because it was him. It was him. I didn't know what the fuck was going on, and I turned on it
Right.
and I shot, and then I saw you were for the UK, and I went, how the fuck did that come together? Because I'd heard of Danny Provenzano. Um, he's a grandson of the guy who was in the Irish, the one of the gangsters that was in the Irishman. He's like his connection, and he's a
His
filmmaker.
uncle. Yeah, he's
His
an
uncle,
nephew
his uncle, yeah.
of Tony Fro,
Yeah,
Tony
that was a lot.
Provenzano.
Just interesting to see all these actors for Goodfellas, and then a guy for you're from London, ain't you? Yeah.
Yeah, born and raised in
Yeah, how
London.
you got in that mix? How the fuck did that come together?
Well,
Especially if you'd been doing movies for years or something, but when it was your first sort of.
yeah, it was just again following advice. I trust Irving more than anyone. His advice has always been golden to me. I mean, he's often telling me to slow down a little bit because I'm like a pit bull. I get hold of an idea and I don't let go. I just keep going and going and going. He said, with writing, it might take you a day to find a subject matter, or a week, or it could take a year. It was only when he was telling me how to develop the characters for train spotting, that by no means was an easy task. That's essentially a lifetime of experience from people and basing it on things, and that sort of puts things into perspective. But he said, like, again, it's his advice when he said, "Go write a script," and wrote scripts. But actually, I had a bit of a writing bug. I wrote 8 scripts, and I sent him a couple, and he's again, I take it as a huge compliment because I said to him, "Why do you always?" It was on one of we was at a restaurant somewhere, and I said, "Why do you always help me?" Because I thought, no, I must drive him mad. If I'm whenever I call him, whether he's in Germany, where was he? He was in Holland, in the state. Like I was up in Chicago and I was down in Florida. Whenever I called him, he always answers. It was only that he said to me, "Knock writing books on head, write scripts." That's why I got into scripts, and I thought, "There's no way." And it was a very humbling experience. I thought I have absolutely no idea what to do, and he gave me some pointers.
Because it's a very different process for novel writing as well, because it's almost like you're creating a blueprint the same way as you're creating a blueprint for a building. A script isn't finished until it's made into a film, really. Screenwriters find the dialogue difficult. I don't, but it's because of my acting background. I like dialogue. I think I think when you get, I think if you get characters that are working, they start to talk themselves. They start to take over your script. I don't know if you find that, but how do you find dialogue writing with the characters? Because some writers find that quite, you know, um,
It depends. I mean, there's been times where I've got friends that live up in New York. Got a couple of pals that live in Missouri, California, South Florida, Central Florida, and there's a couple of characters that I've based on 2 or 3 different people and their mannerisms. When I've been writing like their characters, I'm thinking, well, what would they do? Well, I know they would definitely do this, or they wouldn't do that. But I'm going to put there just to really mess with the character and see how another character would act. So I just base it on people I know, and then I stretch it from there.
when you wrote that script, run, were you still writing knowing that it's a certain budget, or were you writing with your imagination and then you had to take it down or whatever?
The advice I was given by an actor, a very well known actor here in the US. He said to me, when you're writing, because he loves doing, he'd go and do a major production, $50 million, $80 million production he'd be involved in, and then he'd go and do something that costs 20K. And he said, he goes, there's just very few subtle differences. Obviously, where you're staying and the food you're eating and who you're around. He said, but by and large, if you're working on a 50 million or an $80 million budget, you're going to have a helicopter, you're going to have a sports car, you're going to have a hotel. It was part of the production cost. When you're working on something that's a lot less, instead of a helicopter, think of a stone. And I said, I don't see how they connect. He said, right, I'm escaping in a helicopter in that scene, on that production, that TV series. Over here, that doesn't exist. So what would I use? I pick up a stone and throw it to hit someone with, and then there's my escape. So go with what you got. Essentially, work with what you got. He goes, good actors can improvise. He said, the advice he gave me, and this was a few years ago, he said, watch chamber plays. And I said, I have no idea what that means. He goes, he said, like, if you watch John Hughes' film, Breakfast Club, a large part of that movie is set in one room, in the library. He says, so I'm sure there's British productions that are the same. And I thought, okay. So I looked at one of my favourite, I guess you could consider it a chamber play, it's 44-inch chess. That dialogue is timeless. it doesn't age at all. You're Ian McShane, well, you know, Ray Winston and a few of the other guys, but just their dialogue now, their characters. There's characters that could transform into other movies. Like Ian McShane, I think, one of the best actors in the UK. His dialogue in that film is absolutely brilliant. And then the old guy that played Peanut, I love the banter between them. I personally think they're the two best characters in it. Not taking anything away from any of the actors. Ray Winston, of course, phenomenal actor. But it was that old boy, old man Peanut, and Ian McShane. Their dialogue is the best for me. Anyway, it carries the whole movie all the way through. But 44-inch chest for me, I know a lot of people may argue and say, "Oh yeah, but what about Sexy Beast?" Well, that's a different type of film.
I think people were, because they were taken from some of the same cast with Sexy Beast, they were probably expecting something else with 44-inch chest. But I kind of like those movies myself, the same as you, because I like actor stuff. I like contained scenes where actors just like a play, you know. I like that, you know. Same as, you know, I know you're a fan of Quentin Tarantino with Reservoir Dogs. It's very much, that's what it's been done as a play so many times, Reservoir Dogs, because it's a bit
essentially, you know, the one thing I was really impressed with by Reservoir Dogs is it's about a heist that you never see. You never see the robbery, but it's based on the robbery. You never see it, which a lot, traditionally, movies would have to have that bank robbery, that scene. You didn't have it in there, and I thought that was just genius.
But this is what we're talking back to budget. If you had a budget, it would probably it would focus on the heist and be a thriller and an action movie. When you don't have the budget, you forget the heist, just get the guys together and who's backstabbed each other, which then becomes a more interesting movie. You know what I mean? You know, and so it's like your limitations. It's like Orson Welles always talks about it. There's a famous quote. I'm not going to fucking say it here, maybe, you know, but it's something about your limitations is what. You know, when you don't have limitations, it actually strangles you in a way. It makes you more creative when you've got limitations, you know.
Well, that's what I was told is rely on dialogue, because you're not going to have extensive budgets. If you do, you're really, really lucky. I mean, Herb always reminds me how lucky he was with Trainspotting that getting picked up. But I'm just always reminded of, you're going to have actors that are this level. But if you've got the dialogue, and he's a good actor, he can extenuate a scene beyond belief. I love watching films where it's so heavily relied upon on dialogue more than anything else, and that to me is brilliant. They're the ones I enjoy watching the most. I'd say the TV series I got into for quite a while, the original Twilight Zone.
The original one? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the original. The very first episode, it was about a guy, he was wandering around the town, one actor, and it carried the whole until the last 3 minutes, I think it was, where the plot was revealed, but it was just pure dialogue. One actor or one whole episode. That's really creative.
I'm a huge fan of that. That's why before I'd done the Psycho Sex Dolls thing, I was doing a thing called an anthology series, you know, called Mad World. And in this, you know, because the world is fucking mad, and it was just, you know, and each episode was going to be just some crazy shit, and some would be one actor. I already shot one, it's not released yet. I've shot one with Stevie, 30-minute episode. He's going to be at Glasgow.
Well, it's funny saying about doing shorts. There was one guy I was speaking with recently, and he said, "Have I ever considered working in commercials, like TV ads?" I said, "No." He said, "You get to experience loads of different stories very quickly." He said to me, "Heard of he's passed now, crap British, Tony Scott?" I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "He did True Romance," and he said he did a commercial for BMW. He said, "Look that up." So I looked up.
The Gary Oldman
one. It's probably unquestionably one of the best commercials I've ever seen. It's like a mini movie. James Brown, Gary Oldman.
Oh, it's
phenomenal.
It's great. Race with the Devil.
Best commercial I've ever seen. It's like a mini movie.
Oh, it was bloody.
There's those things I enjoy watching as
and
well.
Gary Oldman's like Keith Richards as the devil, you know, set in Las Vegas.
That's right, and it had Marilyn Manson in there. That is the best commercial I've ever seen.
It was absolutely hilarious.
There's a guy I've been speaking with for some time now, who's a really, really good writer. He's not promised me anything, but he's looked at some of the stuff. He said, I'm taking notes, and I'm hoping that I can do some stuff with him. Mickey Dahara. I know he had a big fallout with Guy Ritchie over scripts and who owned what, and I'm not going to get into that. But Mickey I really, really like, and he's again, a very, like yourself, very accommodating. Whenever I've called, gone through all my questions, give me some answers, give me things to think about. Mickey Dahara, I'm hoping he gets get some stuff off the ground as well.
So you have shot the sort of pilot for this. It's going to be, the plan is to be a feature, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's going to be it's 3 stages. One's going to be in London, and then essentially the main characters come to the US. And Danny suggested that we stick with one part of this, because I've got it envisaged in my head. It's going to be Vegas. You're going to be able to do a lot more with the budget if we do it closer to what he considers home on the East Coast. So I said that's great. He said, you can always do your B-roll footage out in Vegas and all your
you can do the
internal
interiors without
shots.
anybody. I shot in Vegas. I shot a movie in Vegas. They were incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
So, in what stages at the run movies? Is still seeking the financing at the moment?
I spoke with, we've got an executive producer that's worked on quite a lot. She's got a good track record, because right now it's near impossible, because everything with digital and everything else, they've really streamlined a lot of what's done and how it's done. Money, of course, is the deciding factor, but she's got 3 major distributors interested right now. And that's probably the most frustrating thing for me, because, well, as you know, when you write something in your time scale, and then you get it picked up, and then it's a very linear process. With film, I'm constantly reminded how lucky I was to have written something, and within 3 months I was filming it, and then within 3 months it was being sent out to different distributors and production companies and executive producers. There's one lady I speak with, Ronna Wallace. She was an executive producer on Reservoir Dogs. She's Harvey Keitel and Whitney and all those. Super helpful lady. Can't thank her enough. She's always willing to take her calls. There's not one standard approach where you speak to this person who then speaks to that person who speaks. You're going to speak to this person who might send you here. The following week, that same person speaks to someone else. They might send them over here. There's not one button, one door, one phone number. It changes from minute to day. What helps me immensely is where there's this actor I've been speaking with lately, Cesar Garcia. He played in Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad. He was in Fast and the Furious 4, I think it was. Again, one of the most accommodating people you could with. He said, consider this, consider that. Okay, when you're on the West Coast, give me a shout. It's just those people, that level of encouragement, just your everyday regular, what we would call working class people, just down to earth people. Couldn't be more, thankful. That's part of my drive as well. I call like Danny later on today and say, right, it's moving slow, but do this. Or I'll call Irvin tomorrow and say, right, well, have you done this yet? Well, why don't you consider doing this? And all these people's involvement and encouragement, that to me is part of the incentive. I know it can be done and it can be accomplished. Who's this said to me ages ago? I can't remember. They said if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And that as cliche as that sounds, that couldn't be any more further from the truth.
There's this romantic notion that a good movie will eventually get found and get made. Bollocks, because it's a movie, it's a formula industry, it's a corporation, so it's down to individuals, where it's producers, writers, directors, the whole team trying to get a movie made, that it gets made, and that's what I've experienced over the years. It was never, I got my first movie made and it was shit, but it got made because I was fucking determined to get it made.
Yeah. There was a conversation I've spoken for a few times when I was up in New Jersey on my last visit. I was speaking with Federico Castellici. I probably mispronounced his last name, so I apologise. But he was Furio in The Sopranos. I was speaking with him. Lovely guy. Again, he was fascinating more so because I was involved in, with the Italian American community and what I was doing. And then I got speaking with his wife, Yvonne. And it was just the similarities in our background. She's originally come from Germany, obviously me from the UK, so there was that whole European connection. I lived and competed in a sport, training in a sport. I did Muay Thai for a number of years when I lived out in Thailand in the 90s. She spent a number of years living and working out in Thailand. So we had a conversation probably close to 3 hours. And I was saying about, what I want to do, and it's really frustrating this, and so my same old story, just frustrate, wanting to get it going. And I said, maybe I need to make more connections. I'm learning to network a lot, and this conversations leads to this conversation. That because you have everything that you need now. That was a huge boost for me. That compliment, with my confidence in what I was trying to accomplish. But again, Yvonne, the lovely lady, Federico's wife, lovely lady. But they're all willing to contribute. I mean, even on the odd occasion I've got a mate back in the UK, Leo Gregory. He's an actor. Very, very accommodating guy. And each time I said, I've got this really good idea, he said, absolutely, I want to be involved. There's so many people that want to be involved. It's not without a lack of source of material or people wanting to be involved. It's just keep fighting for that position, that front position, that pole position.
The frustrating thing is, the weird thing about this business is when you're looking for private finance, right? It's not industry finance because private finance helps you control it more as well. You find that a lot. I've found over the years, there's a lot of people that want to invest in movies, but they're not investing to get an investment. They're investing to get the red carpet, which is the movie business. They're investing. Okay, I don't want to lose money, but if it makes a little bit of money, I've actually had people that don't want to give me money because I'm less interested in the red carpet stuff, but I'm more interested in making the fucking movie good, you know. And if the movie's good, the red carpet shit comes later if you've got a bigger budget. I don't give a fuck about all that shit. But people want to be involved with that. It's the weird stuff because it's the movie business. Because if you're going to put money into to try and make money, you put money into tech businesses to make money. You want to put them into movies. So you got to find those fucking people that want to be, you know, beside the Sopranos stars and beside they come to the red carpet and throw 100 grand or throw $500,000 at it. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird fucking business. What's the stage it say runs at the moment? I'll cut this so we can.
Right, yeah. Right now, we've got an executive producer. It's not helped, of course, because when we were filming it, we just come out of the SAG strike, so we come out of that, so everyone was raring to go. So I've got a great trip. Everything was going really fast. And then, of course, then everyone started coming back to work, and then the industry got saturated with all the work that had been building up with scripts and everything else. And then it started to move fairly quickly again late last year, and then the industry closed down. I didn't know the whole. Basically, no one does anything the whole of December, and it didn't open up until January 6th. So I called the executive producer again, and I said, "Look, I apologise. I'm climbing the walls here. I thought I'd write a book to keep myself busy. I've now written 5 books.
I noticed that you said
another
you
two
sent me a link
scripts.
and I went on Amazon. And Jesus fucking Christ, he's wrote 5 books in the last.
Yeah, I wrote. Well, we had a storm. I'd come back from California, landed in Florida. The following day, there was a storm that wasn't really a storm, but of course, you have to be cautious with these hurricanes. So, by and large, everything was closed down for 3 days. So I was sitting in the house just climbing the wall. So, well, fuck it, I'll write a book. So I wrote a book, Soul Rivals, about sneakers. So what makes it live in South America? I've got a pal lives out in Cambodia, and he just recently moved from Cambodia over to Saigon, right in Vietnam, and he's really into the whole. He's originally from California, but he's into programming. So he's based in Vietnam right now, and he goes, I'm amazed that there's a whole Chicano culture in Saigon. I said Chicano culture like all the guys in LA with the baggy clothes, the Nike Cortez, the lowrider cars, lowrider bikes. He went, yeah. So he sent me some photos of this one guy. He said he's really approachable guy. And I thought, will that be another contact then? So I wrote a book in 3 days just because I was awake I'm one of these nightmare people. I sleep for 4 hours and I'm ready to go. So in 3 days I wrote essentially the framework for the book, and I spent another couple of weeks putting it together. And that was Soul Rivals. And just learning through production, being a producer, you just learn to network and find how to fill the holes. I wrote that book. But anyway, so the point being, yes, I said to the executive producer, I'm climbing the walls here. I can't keep writing books. I need to. She goes, the industry opened up again January 6th, and then we got the LA wildfires. So I went, so this is just unreal. She goes, just be patient. I've got 3 people now interested. That could take it. I said, well, how long? She went, all right, it might be today, it might be next week, it might be next month, it might be 6 months. But the fact that you're on the table, relax.
See, when you've got that creative energy, that's why it's probably good that you've got that creative outlet with books, because the film business is an incredibly slow business, which frustrates me in many ways. Because I like to create fast, and that's why I've gotten into writing novels, because it's another outlet. I create an art as well, but it is a slow business, and that's why it's good to have that other side, you know. And can you see yourself? Do you see yourself always pursuing movies, or can you see yourself continuing writing books or novels or whatever? What's more attractive? Is your passion to get into movies and continue with that?
Get into movies, because it's what I've landed. I guess I thrive off that unknown territory. Like when we were filming the pilot, the treatment for Run, because it was essentially it's low budget. I went up there and Danny say, right, I'm going to need you to help doing this. So I've never done that. He said, Google it. So I'd Google it. Okay, what responsibility? So I had to learn. Yeah, I need you to go and help do lighting. I went. You know, I said, it's all right. I know I'm going to Google it. Instead of the lighting guy. So I spoke with the lighting guy. I need you to be a second AD. I went, I'm going to look it up. So, and then and I love that having to learn, having to do it. And it's like any major production. I think that was one of the first lessons I learned is when you watch a movie, a documentary, whatever it may be, you think, oh, how linear it is, how well put together it is. They might film the last scene first. They might film the second scene, right at the very beginning. It's all over the place. Spontaneity, the disorganisation, shooting from the hip and running 6 miles an hour and then sitting still for 8 hours, and then we've got 1 hour to get this shot. We've got to get it. It has to be done. Well, I said, well, we can't. He said, that's not an option. It has to be done. Well, is this really going to be allowed? He went, it has to be done. And that I absolutely thrive on. So yeah, that's where I see myself, and that's what I know I'm going to end up doing.
I think that's where the reason I'm asking that is because you've got that energy that I completely, that's what's needed in filmmaking. Do you know what I mean? It's because you've got to fucking think on your feet, and you've got to move fast, and you've got to